Perhaps it's possible that Sucker Punch and Sony are taking to heart the criticism, or at least some of the skepticism of the people that have been pointing to the wider AAA game space and noting that, Ghost of Yotei, really excited for a follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima. Guys, we really did support you big time with the PC release that came out earlier this year, so if we could just get a proper sequel to the game, the one that the guys on the left developed and not whatever the hell the team on the right is potentially cooking up. We don't know if this is necessarily an apples-to-apples comparison, but as Grums is pointing out, these comparisons always come up. You can point out that the all-women photos are a selected subset. That's not the issue. The issue is that the studios, who are woke, go out of their way to publish these look at our women photos in order to virtue signal. That's a true concern here. If a studio is doing these types of photos, it's usually because it's a DEI move. Exactly. They want to show you that, hey, look at who's developing our game. Not look at the game we developed and these are the people behind it. It's, oh, look at our special box-checking people that did this, and if you don't like it, it's because you hate them. As opposed to the original team behind Ghost of Tsushima. Nobody knows any of those dudes at that table, okay? I'm sure there are some people that are, deeper in the industry and realize that, hey, Sucker Punch really could have put out a very good open world, Souls-like samurai game, that's definitely right up their alley, even though it's a big departure from the games that they used to develop, because what were they doing beforehand? Weren't they known as, the Sly Cooper studio beforehand? So, yeah, going super serious with the Jin Kasai story was, hey, man, step in a different direction, but they obviously knocked it out of the park. But here's the thing, man, it's interesting because Sucker Punch is one of the many PlayStation studios that are out there. They're finding themselves at a crossroad, because there's big expectations for the follow-up because of their previous hits. Are they going to end up going the way of, say, previous PlayStation Studios darlings, Naughty Dog? They were setting themselves up to be the next kings of the industry, and then released Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us Part 2 and really bungled it to a point where only the likes of Jeff Keighley and other sycophants are anticipating any future releases. Or are they going to go the way of Santa Monica Studios and people are actually champing at the bit for a follow-up to God of War? All of the boys who cry woke notwithstanding. Oh, sweet baby egg, shut your mouth. God of War Ragnarok is a brilliant game. So was Ghost of Tsushima. We just don't know about Ghost of Yotei, but kind of got some indication as to the direction that Sucker Punch could potentially be going in, because they've heard the criticism, and perhaps it's getting delayed. It's getting delayed to be worked on, and this could be a good thing. This could really be a good thing, because we just got a soft release date, right? Like, it's coming out in 2025 when it was first announced during the state of play in the game. Hey, man, the cinematic trailer, when it comes to those, they're always going to be misleading. You don't get gameplay. You don't actually get to see what's going on there. Yeah, your visuals look good. Well, it should from a first-party Sony studio, because that's, on top of a multitude of things, being heavily cinematic at the cost of gameplay. It's kind of the reputation that you have as a first-party Sony studio. So if you can go ahead and buck that trend, kind of like what Sucker Punch did with Ghost of Tsushima back in 2019, if they can do that again with Ghost of Yotei, that would be fantastic. But it's just going to have to overcome that hurdle of Erika Ishii and all of her nonsense. And if they're going back to the drawing board on this one to really try to iron out the kinks, because we've heard other things. And I did a video not that long ago that there were a bunch of people at Sucker Punch, completely blindsided by, we were working on a follow-up. We were working up to the continuation of Jin Sakai's story. Where'd this chick come from? We heard that they were notes that were getting passed down from Sony, so what's happening here? And if they're pushing it off a year to really polish it and to drive home the narrative and the gameplay, that's fine. Whenever I hear the news of a delay, that's fantastic stuff. Make sure the game is as polished as you can get it before you release it. You have to go above and beyond to win back your audience. If you release a buggy mess off rip, if you release a bad game that you later fix up and to be in something acceptable, good, or even great. In certain cases, there are instances of that happening. But it's much easier, it's far better to just get it right off the hop. And if that's what they're doing here, all right then. Even if it is a chick, I've got no problem with that at all, okay? Just like I have no theoretical problem you know, with an entire studio that smells of pennies and box wine. Totally fine with that. As long as your game doesn't reflect your own bad life choices, that's fine, man. We've just not really ever seen that pan out before. This could be the exception. I'm just saying we have a pretty concrete example of, you know, whenever a studio looks like this and somebody with some sense comes in and says, okay, cool, if you want to work, there's a place for you. But if not, if you want to go be lazy and you want to just take extended lunch breaks, the door is over there. Yeah, the people that are always left to work are the ones that are over there. Remember Elon Musk's Twitter takeover back a couple of years ago? Yeah, exactly. Case in point. A rumor claims that Sony and Sucker Punch Productions recently announced Ghost of Yotei game will be delayed to at least 2026 after the company changed its vision from a Ghost of Tsushima sequel to Ghosts of Yotei. Interesting. Sucker Punch Productions senior communications manager Andrew Goldfarb declared on the PlayStation blog, "We are forever grateful for the success of Ghost of Tsushima, and we can't wait for you all to experience Yotei in 2025. And yeah, the messaging from Sucker Punch itself has been phenomenal. I just don't trust Sony at all whatsoever. A little over a week since the announcement, a new rumor from YouTuber Endymion, which is that Park Place now just a shell for this guy? Like, what are we doing? Claims the game will likely be delayed until 2026. I can imagine it gets pushed off deeply. It could be I'd imagine this is going to be a holiday release, even if it does stick to the 2025 schedule. We're probably looking at a release date, or at least a further tease. Might see one at the Game Awards, but more than likely, hearing something a little bit more concrete, potentially at Summer Game Show next year. Maybe a big state of play in the spring. But anyways, okay, he shared. I was also told not to expect Yotei in 2025 at all. Apparently, the game's nowhere near being done. There's a very slim chance the game actually releases in 2025. It could easily fall into 26. But if you're getting your hopes up for it to come out next year, probably don't do that. Every source that I spoke to say that they fully expect a delay at some point to be announced. Yeah, that's why they said, get hype for 2025 release until they say, oh, no, we meant fiscal year 2025. So sometime in spring of 26. Don't worry about it then. It'll be a PS6 transitionary game. Don't worry about it. Earlier in his video, he shared that Sucker Punch was originally working on a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, not Yotei. I was told that originally Yotei was not the original game idea at all. It was actually indeed Ghost of Tsushima 2, starring Jin Sakai, but somewhere during development, the game was halted and completely changed in vision. This Atsu character we see was not originally decided to be the main character of the game, and apparently, according to my sources, Yotei's world and design are largely based on assets that were being used while making Tsushima 2. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. And if this gets confirmed, yeah, it's not great, because they're kind of doing exactly what Grums points out when it comes to, you know, putting out those, hey, look at all of our female employees pictures. Kind of doing that with this. Hey, take a look at our chick who's just replaced our male protagonist. Take a look at, you love K-Vess because she's basically Dollar Store Han Solo, because that worked out so well before. But to be fair, now this is a path that they could tread. This is just not what Sucker Punch has or has ever done with any of their properties. So that's just pattern recognition to the wider industry. And apparently, according to my source, yes, work began on Tsushima 2 around 2 months after the official sales data came through on the first game's success. So that's crazy. They've been working on this for like 4 years already? That's wild. And Endymion then shared his reasons why Yotei will get delayed due to the change in vision. These changes from Tsushima 2 to Yotei happened apparently within the last year, so the entire version of that project has to be changed. He added, at the era of placing the game 300 years into the future from Tsushima's story was decided because it was more believable in Sucker Punch's internal talks, the game to star a woman at that point instead. Yeah, you're moving from, what is it, the 11th century to the turn of the 14th century? Like, it's not really that much more believable, but okay. Later in his video, Endymion also relayed, I was told Yotei may be smaller than the original Tsushima because of the development problems behind the scenes and the fact that they sidelined Jin Sakai for a new Atsu hero instead. This led to a lot of asset flips and the story changing. The core idea of Jin being hunted by Ronin was kept, but of course he was replaced by Atsu instead. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Also shared that Yotei is also allegedly being developed as a cross-gen game game from PS5 and 4 because Sucker Punch and Sony are worried that the game won't sell if it isn't available to a larger install base. Was being developed or is being developed? That's interesting that games theoretically coming out in 25 or 26 are still being developed for the PS4. But I thought the PS5 was, on track and selling so well, and make sure that you go out there and get one of your PS Pros or PS5 Pros, because I'm sure they're selling like hotcakes. I think the pre-orders are out now. Just haven't heard anything about it, so they must be doing great. Finally, Endymion revealed that his sources informed him that the project could be scaled down depending on the public's reception, which right now has been mixed. I and a few other people have been at least trepidatiously optimistic about it, thinking that, the Sucker Punch has a track record. We've seen other games and other studios take this track record take this path before, and it hasn't necessarily yielded the best of results, but perhaps they could buck the trend. Perhaps trying to give them the best interpretation of events, trying to be optimistic in a very dire time. So, as I was told, if Yotei's reception does not improve, this could scale the game back in terms of scope and resources. If Sony starts to notice public opinion on this game is not changing for the better, they'll opt for a smaller overall content package. Well, here's the thing, man. If they're confident in the game that they have and they actually do something good, the reception is going to be positive. I remember it being positive when it was first announced, other than, chick bad. Like, there were the people that obviously have that knee-jerk reaction, and I'm not going to hold it against them. They're justified in doing that because we've seen the degradation of the industry. And yeah, in general, in most cases, I would agree with you. They would be doing it for ideological purposes. It's just, I don't see that with Sucker Punch, man. I see that with a lot of other companies. They just don't happen to be it. And if they're actually going to go ahead and take this edict where, no, we're moving on from Jin, perhaps we can come back to that at a later date, but right now we're doing this Atsu stuff and make it as best as you can. And if that studio is continuing to do that, the game could be great, because there's nothing wrong with playing as a girl, okay? Just if she's a girl boss, that's a different story. If she's just there simply because she's a girl and not because you have an interesting story to tell, that's a completely different kettle of fish. Potentially the biggest game of all time in GTA 6 has you playing as a chick with dueling protagonists, of course, but it's going to be centered around her story. Do you think anybody's going to have a problem picking up a copy of GTA 6 when it drops? I don't think so, man. Goldfarb did share on the PlayStation blog the reason why Sucker Punch chose to abandon Jin Sakai's story. He stated, we also wanted to continue to innovate to create something fresh but familiar. We looked beyond Jin Sakai's story and the island of Tsushima and shifted our focus to the idea of the ghost instead. Sucker Punch, we love origin stories, and we wanted to explore what it could mean to have a new hero wearing a ghost mask and uncovering a new legend. This led us to Ghost of Yotei, a new protagonist, a new story to unfold, and a new region of Japan to explore. So yeah, here's one of those situations where a lot of times when we have controversy in the industry, the best thing that a developer can do is just simply go silent, develop your game, and then just push it over the finish line. In the case of Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed Shadows, that's about the best that you can hope there, where you just end up getting, hey, it's not as bad as, it was all reported to begin with. That's about the best that they can hope for with that abomination. But in regards to Sucker Punch and Ghost of Yotei, the sooner we can get a little bit more of this story, we can figure out what exactly we're dealing with here, that will clear up a bunch of stuff, for better and for worse. So it would end up being in their best interest if they have a quality story, quality gameplay at heart. Let the people know. Soothe some skepticism by giving us a little bit of insight. Otherwise, yeah, the negativity and all of the conspiracy theories, I'm not trying to say that anybody's kooky for thinking that this is just going to be another, hostile AAA Sony woke game takeover. I'm just saying it's going to put a lot of that to bed and give people reason to actually have at least a little bit of faith in AAA moving forward, because I'm personally looking forward to the conclusion of the Final Fantasy VII Remake series. Okay, when we get some more information to that at the Game Awards, I'm hoping at least the PC port, if not a little tease for Reclaim. But outside of that, yeah, I got nothing. I got absolutely nothing. For the people that like these Dark Souls-likes, this could be one of those ones that's out there for you to look forward to. I hope it's not trash. I really do, because for as much negativity that's out there, you need a little bit of positivity to offset that. And let's hope that that's the case for Sucker Punch, because they've been good to you so far. Hopefully they don't go the way of Naughty Dog. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.